Welcome to Faith, Fuel, and Fitness, the Integrity Way, with your hosts, John and Debbie Morris from Integrity Training Systems.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. John and Debbie Morris here. We are happy to be back in studio after a 2-week hiatus for myself, having had COVID, so I had to stay away from everybody in the world. It's nice to be able to actually talk to some people. And I had planned a segment prior to going out for the 2 weeks to talk about New Year's resolutions. So I realize now we're, basically a quarter of the way through the year, but I still want to talk a little bit about that because I actually really like New Year's resolutions, and I think they get a really bad rap in the fitness industry because everybody always talks about how busy the gym gets and equipment being taken, and they just can't wait for those people to stop coming to the gym. And I hate that. Because it's like these are people that are actually trying to change their life right now, right? And they're looking to use the beginning of the year to kind of revamp, restart, and reset and get into health and wellness. And Deb, I know we don't see a gigantic surge at the beginning of the year like I know some of the more membership-based gyms do. But I want to talk a little bit about these people. If they're not going to come see someone like us, if they're not going to do something like we do that's very direct and guided, some basic principles of both nutrition and training that they can follow to start their year off right. So if we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition, what are some general concepts if someone's just like, okay, this is it, this is the year I'm getting healthy, that they can focus on?
I think if you're, deciding that, you want to try to take a step in the right direction, start, eating healthier, I think you just have to really start looking at the ingredients first that you're eating and just decide, I'm just going to eat real food for a change. I'm not going to look at a package of something and just because the calories look good or just because the carb content looks good, I'm going to continue to eat it. I'm going to actually look and see what's inside it.
Right.
And so if you really start to look at what you're eating, a lot of times it's not even actually food. It's a food like substance. And so we can get a person to a place to where they actually start to care about what's in their food, inflammation will go down almost immediately. So there's other things that you can take into consideration as well as a month's worth of no sugar.
Right.
If just by working sugar out of your diet.
And that's the kind of thing that I wanted to spend some time talking about today is, again, just with the start of the new year, the start of figuring it out. You'll hear a lot of people talk about things like 75 hard or, I'm going all in. I'm going to do 10 hours a week of exercise and I'm going to play Biggest Loser and I'm going to eat perfectly clean. I'm going to meal prep and eat the same thing 6 times a day, every day for the next 90 days. And, I believe in going all in. I believe in, really putting forth maximum effort towards whatever it is you're going to do. But I also believe in being reasonable and setting yourself up for success. And so if you're going to take a situation where you're going to work out twice a day and you're going to meal prep and you've never done anything like that before, I just question sometimes if that's going to be the best route, or is it more intelligent, like you're saying, to say, okay, for this first portion of what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a point to pull out as much sugar out of my daily intake as I can. I'm going to try to get rid of as many starches as I can, processed ingredients as I can, and maybe even dairy. These are objects that you obviously talk about on a weekly basis are not really good for anybody.
Right.
Most people have some form of negative reaction to it, some greater than others, but these are places that people can start to just ensure that they're heading in a healthier direction.
True. And the thing is that 75 hard is hard.
Correct.
Right. And so the reason that it says hard on it is because it's hard. It's just the reality of it. And so kudos to the people that created it, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get people to step up their game. It's
phenomenal. It really is a neat program.
Step up your game and quit trying to just, be lackadaisical. And you've been wanting to achieve a goal for how many years?
Right.
Well, here's 75 hard.
Right.
You do this and you'll probably finally achieve it. Who are the people that I don't think 75 hard is good for? Well, not really anybody, because at the end of the day, we all could do this.
Correct.
We really could. But would it be better for you to create a program that you might actually follow for the rest of your life?
Right.
In my opinion, yes. So if you are not a 75 hard kind of person, then maybe you need to meet with someone and try to get a plan that is like forever.
Well, I was cracking up because, a year ago before I went into quarantine and haven't seen anybody, I was working with one of my clients and she was talking about how she was getting ready to start 75 hard with her daughter-in-law. And she was doing it. She's someone who's worked out with me for 6 years. She's in great shape. She's got some goals that she's shooting for. So 75 hard for her makes sense. It's going to step her into another platform or another level. And she was telling me that her daughter-in-law was actually talking about the specific date that she needed to start 75 hard because she needed to be off of it in time for a bachelorette party.
Right.
And I'm like, so, I mean, what's the goal here?
Right.
You're trying to hammer out 75 days to look good for a bachelorette party. But if you're already scheduling the post 75 hard, are you getting back on it the day after that? I believe, and we've talked about this in the past, that it's okay to schedule and plan things. We all know I like to eat, so I have cheat meals. I do jiu-jitsu competitions, and I'll have something after that. But if you're going to plan your fitness journey around something that specifically goes against what your goals are, I think that you, like to your point, Deb, it's just going to be more intelligent to focus on what can I do for a lifetime. And I want to talk about, and we're going to definitely talk about it in the next segment too, but being intelligent about what you do. So there is some truth to saying that something is better than nothing, but we have to be smart about what that something is. So when you're talking about exercise or nutrition, again, if you're going to do something, you want it to be intelligent at least. Something like we said, removing sugar, removing dairy, or from an exercise perspective, again, doing something that cause you to burn calories and lean towards a healthier lifestyle is great, but you have to make sure you're not doing something that in turn is going to hurt you. So if you're someone that's looking to lose weight and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to go out and run every day, are your joints actually prepared for what's going to happen during the run? So being smart about what you do to start your fitness journey at the beginning of the year as you're starting to come around and thinking about what you need to do to better yourself is, in my opinion, it's just going to come down to making sure you understand what's not going to hurt you.
I've always said just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
Right.
And that originated when CrossFit first
That's tough for
started
me.
in my gym many, many years ago. I love CrossFit. I love competitive weightlifting. I love powerlifting. I've been in bodybuilding gyms since I was in the 6th grade. So I am all for CrossFit. But just because someone can do something doesn't mean they should do something. And any qualified CrossFit instructor would be the first person to tell you, hey, look, man, you got to get yourself structurally sound before you start cleaning and jerking.
Right.
I mean, for real. And unfortunately for me, as a fitness professional, as a personal trainer and a health coach, one of the struggles I have is with the 75 hard people. You want to go that hard, I will hold you accountable. I will make sure that you achieve that goal.
Right.
But what are you goal hopping for? Just so that at the end of the 75 hard, you can go out and eat 3 pizzas, get drunk all weekend, and then have cake every day for the next week. And then what? Then what? You've just made yourself completely toxic. But what was the 75 days for? I truly believe the people that originally created it for a reason, that what they're
it's
hoping
bettering you,
is
mind,
that,
body, and spirit.
yes, that you're going to create a pattern of discipline within 75 days. And the prayer is that you stick with it. Now, I
Right.
get it. You're going to have cake on your birthday and you're going to have cookies at Christmas and you're going to do stuff. I'm not trying to say you're not, but it's just like that old bodybuilding mentality for these shows nowadays. You go to a bodybuilding show and they spend 16 weeks killing themselves, and then literally 16 days they look like a completely different
Well,
person.
you need to have an on season and an honor season,
Right.
not an on and an off.
yeah.
And that's the problem is everybody looks for how quickly can I get to that off season.
Right. Shows are won and lost in the off season. And Emmett Smith said that in that awesome commercial where he's bench pressing. That games are won and lost in the off season, and how you prepare in the off season. That's what we help you do at Integrity. We help you prepare in the off season. We create that off season for you. And there really isn't an off season because we create a formula for how to stay healthy for a lifetime. For more information on a 6-month nutrition program with myself at Integrity, you can take a look at us at integritytrainingsystems.com. In addition, you can take a look at us and call us at 636-299-2208 for a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, where we identify any muscle imbalances, postural deviations, and we teach you how to foam roll, stretch, and mobility based off of those imbalances that we find. This is a really sound assessment, and it's free of charge, so I would take advantage of it. Again, the number to call for that is 636-299-2208.
Hey everybody, we're glad to be back. We're talking about New Year's resolutions today. Debbie and I here in the studio. I want to talk a little bit more about being positive in the new year, 2022. I think 2021 was a pretty rough year for most people in the world. 2022 has started out pretty rough for most people in the world as well. And I think that we can get bogged down by that. It's really easy to get caught up in the negativity of everything that's going on in our world nowadays. And I think it's going to require some conscious effort on the part of all of us to bring positivity not only to our own lives, but to those around us. Because at the end of the day, everybody's really struggling right now. They've got family members that are sick, family members that are hurting, jobs, businesses shutting down. I mean, all sorts of crazy stuff's going on. So I just want to talk a little bit about remaining positive, and then in the health and fitness world, people that are looking to try to better themselves to be able to take on this year, remaining positive to help them. So, Deb, I just want to talk a little bit about, you always talk to me about discipline. We talk about Jocko Willink a lot and the things that he does to say discipline equals freedom. And I want to talk about how remaining disciplined and being disciplined and being positive on a daily basis helps you to do all of the things that you do.
I feel like being positive has to be intentional. A lot of times people will say, well, I'm just not a confident person. I'm a pessimist. I'm just a negative person. And it's like, well, duh. I mean, we all have a reason to not be confident. We all have a reason to be pessimistic. I mean, for crying out loud, every other person is sick right now. I think we all have a reason to be pessimistic. It takes confidence, and building confidence is an actual action that requires effort. You have to put forth effort to build confidence. And in my opinion, to be positive every day, it's intentional. You have to put forth effort to be positive. And so you have to start putting some things in place to tell yourself, hey, I'm on the sunny side. I'm not on the sucky side of life right now. And I'm telling you, sometimes I will wake up at pretty much about 5:30 every single day.
Right.
And sometimes before my feet hit the floor, I will have so many text messages before 6 a.m. of people basically just blaring their issues.
Giving up for the day.
Just blaring their issues at 5:30 in the morning.
I mean, I'm sometimes even some of those texts,
and so,
to be honest.
So the reality is that I have to then say, what will I listen to?
Right.
What will I read? What will I do that will keep me from sinking in the quicksand of everybody else's negativity around me? And for me, that takes a sermon, that takes a motivational video. I like to listen to Jocko, but I also like to listen to Eric Thomas, Les Brown, T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen. I like to listen to people that can build me. I get into a devotional, I get into the Bible. I don't have a lot of time, but I make the time. I mean, if you have 5 minutes to drink a cup of coffee, you have 5 minutes to read 2 pages in a devotional. And it's a catalyst to changing my day.
I want to make a point about that with you, because I say this a lot, and people know I say this. I always say motivation is fleeting, but discipline lasts a lifetime. But here's the thing. You can actually discipline yourself to be motivated.
To be positive.
So that's what you're doing is you're taking these motivational speeches, you're taking these motivational speakers, these people who are speaking positively, and you're using discipline to implement that into the beginning of your day. And that discipline is what's actually going to carry you. Because where I go wrong, and, we've talked a little bit about this when we first started this show back up, but I have a lot of neurological issues from just letting people punch me in the head too much. And I struggle in the morning. So it's like a computer that doesn't want to turn on. And so what happens for me a lot of times is if I don't discipline myself to get up and start with something positive, whether that's just listening to something on my phone or reading something like you're saying to gear my brain in the right direction, what ends up happening to me is I will set a precedence for how I absolutely cannot make it through my day before my feet even roll over onto the side of the bed. And so the discipline for me is convincing myself the night before that I can do what I'm going to do the next day. It's going to bed thinking, okay, I've got tomorrow because I did today, and tomorrow is the same as today. Building that positivity the night before, thinking that before I go to sleep. And to revert back to what I was starting to talk about at the beginning of the segment, I just think that too many people are spending too much time talking about how negative their situation is. And the reality is everybody is dealing with that negativity. But when you spew your negativity onto someone, which a lot of people just say is, oh, I'm just venting. And then that person is then forced to think about their negativity. And then they spew that back onto that person. Is it really just venting, or are we now starting to poison each other?
It's contagious, just like COVID is.
Right.
I mean, it is contagious, and it'll sink you. It'll sink all of us if we let it. And we have to keep ourselves above ground when it comes to it. What we have to do is find an attitude of gratitude. Okay, yes, we could talk about how difficult the finances are when 5 of your employees are out sick.
Been a tough month.
Right? Or we could talk about, my God shall supply all of my needs according to his riches and glory.
That's right.
Oh, we can talk about how you've been sick for 2.5 weeks and you feel weak and tired.
I'm talking 100 miles an hour because I'm just happy to be talking to somebody.
Or we can talk about the fact that you're more than a conqueror.
Yeah, I'm here.
Right?
Right.
And that through Christ you can do all things.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? We have another channel we can turn to. We have another station we can listen to. It's our choice. Sometimes we can't get the channel changed. Then get somebody to help you.
Right. And that's the biggest thing, is surrounding yourself with positive, like-minded individuals, because that's what's going to give you the ability to propel to the next level. If everybody that you surround yourself with is constantly talking about how hard their situation is and how negative their situation is, regardless of how hard or negative it really is, that's going to seep into you. You have to be around people who are willing to look at the positive aspects of life and not just get hung up on how hard everything is.
I have met people that have been kicked in the teeth, had them all knocked out, and then got false teeth and then had all those knocked out before in life. And they are some of the most positive people I have ever met. They are some of the strongest people I have ever met. They have taken their challenges and they've turned it into wisdom, and they've turned it into growth, and they've allowed it to propel them to success.
Right.
Okay. And we can sink in it, or we can succeed because of it, in spite of it. In spite of it, you can say, enemy, you have no hold on me today. I am in control, and I know God is the one that's in control, and that I'm going to live according to his call, his purpose.
And that's actually what I love about what we've been able to create as a company, is because when you talk to people about what we do, yes, they talk about our structural alignment. Yes, they talk about your knowledge when it comes to nutrition, but we've been able to create a facility and create a place where people actually talk more about our group, our family, how we do that together, how we take that on together.
Yes, absolutely. It is an amazing place. And as far as the nutrition program is concerned, this is part of what we talk about. We talk mind, body, spirit. We talk discipline, not only with your food, but with your spirit and with the way you speak and that self-talk. For more information on that 6-month nutrition program, you can take a look at us at integritytrainingsystems.com, or to schedule a free personal fitness assessment with our personal trainers, you can call us at 636-299-2208. And I've always felt that like-minded individuals should remain together, but sometimes it's really hard to find like-minded individuals. I think a place like Integrity is perfect for that.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for staying tuned in with us here. John and Debbie Morris talking a little bit about New Year's resolutions, getting back in the saddle coming into 2022, starting the year out strong, regardless of what your situation is and what you're dealing with. Want to talk a little bit more about starting exercise with wherever you are in your exercise walk. You know, most people have done something in the past, and it's kind of funny. That's one thing in my line of work that gets talked about, especially amongst quote unquote men, is every man knows how to work out and doesn't need to be told how to do so. You know, they've got it figured out, the technique, the way to move, you know, how to not get hurt. This is how you bench press, bro. And at the end of the day, that's not always accurate. And a lot of times, even if you know what you're supposed to be doing, you may not actually be physiologically capable of obtaining or achieving the position that you should be doing it from. So I want to talk a little bit, Deb, about how to get started with exercise, how to ensure that we're not getting hurt. You know, I mentioned in the last segment, you know, if you're someone who's overweight and you're looking to lose weight, that's the goal for this year. Running may not be the most opportune way for you to be burning those calories, because you could be dealing with injured knees, ankles, or even causing further inflammation in your body because of how inflamed you are just from the exercise. So let's talk a little bit about ways that people can start working on their mobility and ways that they can start working on strengthening themselves to even begin exercise.
The first thing I would suggest is just get up and start moving. Just like I talked about last week in the immunity broadcast, just walk, you know, just start moving, just getting your body moving so that you are not so strict in terms of, you know, lactic acid buildup. Just get some fluids moving in your body and then start stretching. You know, even if it's just something as simple as putting your foot up on a chair so that you can get your hamstring stretched, going through a doorway and getting a chest doorway stretch. These are the types of things that we teach in that assessment for that reason, because those basic stretching exercises will really open a person up and it'll keep them protected and to keep them from ending up with injury. Now, there's more advanced things that you could do, like foam rolling or mobility exercises that would be very specific. But the first thing I would suggest is get up and get moving, but don't get up and start running. You know, the only people I ever suggest run are athletes that need to run away from someone because they have a ball in their hand.
Right.
Running is very hard on the body, and it really can promote injury. And unless you are a professional runner or you want to run for races, I wouldn't suggest it as your form of exercise, but you need to make sure your body is equipped for exercise. And also, what is the level of intensity of what you're planning to do, and how often are you planning to do it? I once had a girl that came in and she did CrossFit 2 days a week. She did Orange Theory 3 days a week. And then one of the days she did Orange Theory and a boxing gym. And her body was just chronically swollen.
Right.
And so I changed her food and it did help a little bit. But at the end of the day, I just told her, and I really think you need to change the way you exercise. Like, take those 2 high intensity days, keep them in, but then on the other 3 days, one of the days do yoga. The other 2 days, let's do body part specific training and really work on opening your body up.
And that's obviously a large part of what we do. Is when someone comes in, it's not just about teaching someone how to exercise during the session that we're spending the hour with them, but it's also about teaching them what they should be doing during the week around that. But again, without even coming to see us, the main thing that I would talk about, like Deb just mentioned, is just moving. I mean, I know even with having been sick this past couple weeks myself, I had to get up and walk around the room. Now, I was quarantined in a bedroom because Deb having an autoimmune disease, we didn't even want to risk the chance of me coming out of that room and her potentially getting sick. So, I mean, I did not have a lot of space. And what I found was in the beginning, I spent a lot of time lying down and or sitting. I wasn't getting up and moving because where was I even going to go? And I felt far worse than once I actually got up and started moving around. You know, I didn't do anything crazy. I got up. I just kind of walked around the room. I would stretch, just bend over, reach for my feet. I sat down on the ground and I was doing some toe touches. And then by about the 4th or 5th day, I started doing push-ups. Nothing crazy, sets of 10, sets of 20, just trying to get some movement, some blood flow. So another thing I talk a lot about is, you don't want to play biggest loser. How sustainable is what you're trying to do? So if you're going to say, okay, I'm going to start exercising because I want to be healthy and well, and you go to the gym and you haven't worked out in a decade and you say, I'm about to kill myself for an hour, and you render yourself incapable of walking for the next 7 days, what have you actually accomplished? Because now not only are you going to not exercise for the next week because you feel terrible, but there's probably a fair amount of negativity that's actually occurring in your body, right?
Right. Your body just gets swollen and inflamed. It's like that girl that I told you about. I mean, she lost 5 pounds within the next 2 weeks, and she had been stuck
From
for
resting,
quite a while.
right.
She had been stuck for quite a while. Your lymphatic system gets clogged when you're not stretching, when you're not foam rolling. That's the beauty of chiropractic. They can release you. They can get, some of that lactic acid out of you. You have to give yourself the right movement for the season that your body's in. And if you haven't been exercising for a year, I don't personally feel that your season is high intensity right off the bat.
Let's just get started.
I know you want to get geared on something, but just start in first gear and then move to second and then move to third and then move to fourth.
Right. Even the fastest sports cars don't start in 5th gear. You have to start at the beginning.
You know what? I mean, I had an athlete that used to train 13 hours a week with me. She personal trained 13 hours a week with me.
It's crazy.
And there was a day where I saw her at the gym on Sunday and I said, why are you here? And she was like, I just wanted to get a little extra. I'm like, no. I'm like, if you do not rest, you will swell from it. Like, you work out 13 hours a week with me. That's it. You're putting your time in.
Right.
And so I just basically said, like, I literally will lock the door if I see you coming in on a Sunday.
Right.
I don't want you to be here. You have to take a rest day. Some people may need to take 2 rest days, but you have to know your body. You want to do the right protocols, like the Epsom salt baths. You don't want to be so sore that you can't even walk up a flight of stairs for a week. That's taking it to a pretty intense level.
And I think that
we've all done that.
I think it's pretty important to acknowledge how different everybody really is.
Yes.
A large part of our job is actually determining what works for an individual. And there are a lot of generalizations. There are things that across the board you can say, okay, this is probably good for someone. This is probably not good for someone. But at the end of the day, everybody is just so different. And it becomes a scientific variable experiment to figure out what works for you.
Right.
And another issue is I watch influencers, as it's called. I hate that terminology, but we watch people that are now considered fitness influencers, and they look phenomenal. But they're talking about how they got there, and they're talking about what they do, and they're selling it, and people see them, and they see how they're acting, and they think, oh, well, that's what I want, so I'm going to do that. Well, the thing is, first off, it may not work for you the same way it worked for them. And second off, a lot of people are forgetting what they did to get to where they are. I'll give you an example of that. I knew a guy that trained a very specific way, ate a very specific way, got really muscular, really strong, big dude, and then randomly decided that he was going to switch to a ketogenic lifestyle. And he changed, but he sustained a fair amount of muscle, size, and strength. And he just preached keto, 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 keto. Now everybody sees this guy and thinks, wow, you can get that big and that strong doing keto and stretching. And it's like
steroids.
No, he did. He did steroids. He did.
You can get really big on steroids and keto.
He did steroids, and he lifted strong, heavy, and ate whatever he wanted to for 10 years. So now he's got a sustainable body.
Right.
But the problem is he's preaching this keto lifestyle like
Right.
it is the end all be all. Well, anybody that's going to talk to him, they're not going to know that backdrop.
Right,
and it's not
that
like he's
muscle
trying to
came from
deceive
that.
somebody.
Right.
But he's just preaching what he's doing now. And so you really have to take the time to discern what's going to work for you and allow somebody, like we talked about, a team. And I'm glad you mentioned chiropractic in this segment as well. It's like, that's why we have the teams of people that we have: chiropractors, physical therapists, we're personal trainers, you're nutritionists. It's like we have all of these people because at the end of the day, even a blind squirrel can find a nut. If you're lucky enough to be shredded, happy, your body's perfect, and you feel amazing on a daily basis, and you're kind of just meandering through it, count your blessings, because it doesn't happen very frequently.
Right.
it'd be no different than figuring out how to make your car run perfectly and flawlessly on your own, even though you've never even worked on a car. Sometimes you're just going to require that level of assistance to wade your way through all of the garbage that's out there. And the problem is it's not even all garbage. Most of it's actually accurate for somebody.
Right.
But finding out how it works for you is what's difficult.
That's right. There is no one way. And in the past, I would say 5 years, I've spent a great deal of my time studying functional medicine, and my certifications have been in functional medicine. And what I've learned from all of these doctors, these incredible doctors, is that there are no two people alike.
No.
And so when they start to try to get to the root cause of all these issues, they can't just go by a textbook and say, well, this means this and this means that. That doesn't even matter. When you have an issue like I have that is so deep and
You're talking about me.
And you're getting mold toxicity worked out, but first you had to get the thyroid to function right before you could even recognize that you had the mold toxicity.
Layers.
But then in between the mold toxicity, you had to figure out that you had chronic fatigue viruses that you had to release. There's this whole series, but guess what? You can't do any of that until you fix the gut. There's a whole series of events that have to happen. Well, when it comes to exercise, you can't just assume that it's like, go to the gym, do what influencer on Instagram says, and everything will just happen.
Right.
You have to learn your body. We've always really analyzed a person's structure. We look at their bones and we try to say, how are your muscles currently sitting on your bones? We need to identify where your imbalances are, because you're only going to be as strong as your weakest link. So we have to teach you how to lengthen so that we can strengthen.
Yeah.
And when people just leave out that lengthening component, they end up much more susceptible to injury. And, doing it on your own is great. But in my opinion, I say, don't go for the gusto right off the bat. Go for being balanced.
Right.
Create balance. I go to a Chinese medicine practitioner, and he looked at me and he saw my muscles. This was in the summer when I had a tank top on. He goes, how much are you lifting weights? And I was like, look, I already played that game 5 years ago. I've downregulated so much, it's not even funny.
Yeah, and that's another
my
example.
daughter can outlift me now.
People look at you and they're like, oh, man,
Right.
yeah, I want to look just like her. She probably lifts all the time. And it's like, but you did at one point, but you
Yes.
don't now.
Yes.
So you have to
And I had
talk
to
about that.
explain to him, I don't lift heavy. I'm really good about that. Why am I saying this? Because he knew it would break me down.
Correct.
He knew it would tear down my adrenals. He knew that I would not find the harmony and the balance that I needed within my body if I was going to extreme levels.
This is another thing I love about you, which obviously I have a biased opinion of, but this is what sold me on you when I came to you and actually worked with you as a client, is talking about Chinese medicine. I don't know anything about Chinese medicine, but you're seeing this Chinese medicine doctor and you're learning from him, and you're actually even getting a certification. And someone online flamed you not that long ago saying, I feel so sorry for anybody that listens to you, young people, old people, or whatever, you're all about this Chinese medicine now. And you just have to laugh, because it's like, that's just part of your repertoire.
It's funny. I don't even remember someone doing that.
Yeah, no. It was this big long thing. He was just like, it's this big long thing. He's like, oh, you're going to lead people the wrong direction. But at the end of the day, you're just adding that to the arsenal, because there is no one way. It's just with the functional medicine and all the other certifications, it's another way to unlock some of these layers.
That's right. That's just what we try to do. We just try to take an individualized approach. That's what the 6-month nutrition program is. We tell you what to eat, where to buy it, how to prepare it, what to order when you eat out, what to do when you travel, and what you should be drinking, any vitamins and minerals you should be taking. For more information on that, you can take a look at us at integritytrainingsystems.com, or to schedule a free personal fitness assessment with our personal trainers. You can call us at 636-299-2208.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned for the whole show. Entering the last segment here with John and Debbie Morris. Just want to talk a little bit more about the New Year's start, how to get started into fitness, health, and wellness. Want to talk a little bit about the team being diversified, having people that are positive around you, like-minded individuals, and then also how getting a team of professionals, someone like us, makes it so that you don't have to figure out and wade your way through all of the information that's out there. You know, again, when I'm talking about you want to make sure you find someone that's diversified, we were talking a little bit before the break about how Deb was achieving a Chinese medicine certification. She's also got a alternative medical certification and all these other certs that I don't
all
even know how to say.
Nutritional therapy.
And it's all nutritional.
Not a doctor.
Yeah, it's
Right.
all nutritional therapy. But my point is, it's showing that she understands that there's not a one-way ticket to getting your health right through your food. And that's really difficult to do for me. I mean, I'm a business professional. I own a gym. I'm a personal trainer, and I can't do what she does. So to expect yourself to be able to wade through that is pretty tough. Finding someone like her that takes the time, does the research, has that data, and then can assist you through being able to figure out what works for you variable wise is just huge.
Right. And you've got to realize that there's ingredients in your food that are absolutely toxic, and they are going to hold you back for the rest of your life if you continue to allow them to participate in your life. If you are going to continue to consume certain foods, you're going to continue to stay poisoned, plain and simple. You may start a new diet and then 3 days later just start jacking it up with bad food and not understand why you feel so bad, and then decide you don't want to do the diet anymore because you feel so bad. But
Right.
you don't feel bad from the new diet. You feel bad because you jacked it up with a bunch of bad food.
Right. Or you're detoxing what you did prior to the new diet.
Right.
Even.
You have to recognize the power that those ingredients and those foods can have over you. And that's where the true change comes in. That's where the true change comes in, is when you recognize that you're bringing in toxins, and those toxins are going to impact literally your life and how healthy you can be for the rest of your life.
I say this nonstop, and I feel like I'm going to end up saying it every show we do, but I always like to talk about how you take medication. So when you digest a medication, let's just talk about ibuprofen, Tylenol, whatever it is you're going to take, and you take it because you have an ailment that you're attempting to make feel better. How does that medication work? It's a chemically comprised, or I guess just an ingredient that is comprised of chemicals, correct? And you're digesting it, and it's breaking down and making its way into your system. Well, anything that you ingest is going to be digested and broke down the exact same way. So if there are chemicals in your food, okay, do we not think that the chemicals in the quantity of food that you're going to consume to make sure that you are full aren't going to have the same, if not more of a dramatic effect than one pill that you take on a daily basis? And if that's the case, like, what's the accumulation of that as well? So if you're eating that every day, you're bringing these chemicals in every day, what are you building? Like, what's actually building inside of your body that at some point has to be detoxed before you even have the option to try to feel better?
Right. If you really want to find out if a plan that you're following is working, give it 90 days.
Right.
Not 9 days, not 3 days,
Right.
not 3 weeks.
Not 5 on, 2 off, 5 on, 2 off.
Right. Give
Right.
it 90 days, give it 90 days full compliance, and then you'll be able to determine if a plan that you're following is really working. Sure, there may need to be some tweaking, a little bit of additions here, a little bit of subtractions there, but at the end of the day, give it that amount of time and really see how you're feeling. And I would suggest doing a very similar pattern with your exercise. Give it the first quarter of the
Right.
year and see how you feel. And if that's going great, then advance it. Then move into a different direction.
And it's a tough situation because obviously I understand that you people want to be entertained. They want to enjoy what they're doing. Life should be enjoyed. And so when it comes to both exercise and food, I just find that we deal with so many people that they're looking for the excitement in them. Okay, well, I just don't want to eat clean because it's just not exciting. And, once a week, I still want to be able to have my this, or once a night, I should still be able to have my glass of red wine. Man, how common that is. Like, yikes, that's not going to work, guys. But, those types of things, it's like you actually have to find the joy, the happiness, and the excitement in the result. And if you can start gearing your mind to understand that the results where the excitement's going to come in, then you can start training to live and eating to live instead of living to eat and living to train. CrossFit, things like boxing gyms, I do jujitsu, they're fun, right? There's actual joy to them. It's different. The workouts change. But if you get too hung up on how fun the workout is and you start forgetting why you're doing it, you might start chasing the wrong thing. And once the boredom sets in, you might just quit. And it's the same with the food. If you get hung up on, you're eating clean because you have a goal, but you start to get hung up on the fact that you're not getting to eat the things that you're craving and you're looking for, you may miss out on the opportunity to actually enjoy what you're reaping for.
There's a healthy way to make everything taste great.
And that's valid too.
You just really have to get creative with your cooking, and you have to understand that just because it's healthy doesn't mean it has to taste bland and just plain and just blah.
Right.
You have to get creative with it. And not just, just get out there and explore different avenues.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure I'm being clear. I'm not telling you to eat, cardboard, right? Like it can still be good, but just maybe don't get hung up on the fact that you don't get to have boneless wings every day. I'm just saying.
Absolutely. But I do think that our focus sometimes is just really off.
Yes.
And what we don't realize is that God has something bigger. He has called each of us to something so much bigger than potato chips and candy. He is waiting for us to stay committed and act in obedience and truly honor him with the choices that we make for our body. And so what we're doing is we're letting the stress of life, we're allowing the boredom, we're allowing all of these reasons to really take us off of the path that he truly has us called to be on.
Right.
And we're feeding our flesh every single day because that's what we want.
Right.
That's what we want. But at the end of the day, what does he want? What does he want for each of us? What has he called for us to do? And we have to start thinking about that. And how can we be mightier? How can we be stronger? How can we be the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be? Well, the first thing we can do is we can stop putting toxic waste into our body. That is the first thing we can do. Then we can exercise. We can challenge ourselves to build our spirit like we talked about earlier. We can listen to positive messages, and we can set up a gratitude journal. We can read affirmations of favor every single day so that we're in a place that we actually start spreading positive energy, but also just so that we're not so focused on just trying to satisfy our flesh on the regular.
Well, and when you talk about, the positivity, and we've said this whole show about surrounding yourself with positive individuals, I have been addicted to more things than I can count. I've been addicted to pills. I've been addicted to alcohol. I've been addicted to food, sugar, caffeine. And I'll tell you, the hardest thing to break chemically for me has been sugar, but it's not just the chemical break. It's also the status breakup. The world doesn't want you to break up with sugar and food. Everybody around you is just like, why are you doing that? Or, it's just one thing. I challenge you people, if you've got a friend or a family member and they're struggling, especially if they have diabetes or something like that, get off their case about changing the way they eat. Quit projecting onto them that they think you need to change. Quit saying, oh, well, you could have one little thing, and just let them do them. If you breathe positivity into them, you might actually get to see their life change. And that's so important, because I just feel like if someone's addicted to heroin or cocaine or Percocet or something like that, you don't have family members saying, oh, well, it's just one relapse, no big deal. So when you got someone who's actually trying to not be a diabetic, maybe get off their case about the cake that they're, withstanding for that birthday.
And in most cases, for most people, it's not just one. When someone has one of something, it turns into a lot.
That's
more
what
than
addiction
one.
is.
And it's unfortunate, but that's just what sugar does. And so the reality is that when they try to stay away from it, the longer they stay away from it, the more improvement they end up finding, the more clarity they end up finding, and they end up with the ability to actually achieve true health. That is what we try to have you do. We do not just starve you of all things good. We just try to create a balance for you internally, just a true balance of good health. Sometimes that means going over some bumps in the beginning to really get to that place.
It's a journey.
Right, but we will help you with that. For more information on our 6-month nutrition program, you can take a look at us at integritytrainingsystems.com to get started for exercise this year and to do it in a healthy fashion. To understand where your imbalances are, let us do an assessment. It's free of charge. Give us a call for that free assessment at 636-299-2208.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
God bless.